where your horse can go, because the state's like, this is an expense, I don't want it. Take it to an auction, get rid of it. And that's exactly what will happen if you don't have plans for it. So those are just some examples of what we have to deal with. And I have to go out to a lot of places with patrol, with deaths and stuff, and it seems like everybody has a dog, has a lizard, has a goldfish or something. But with the horses, you know, we can always take the small animals to foothills, or we can get somebody to take the small animals, but with horses, that's a whole different thing. The value, the size of them, what to do with them, that's a whole different thing. So that's kind of my 2 cents worth in
Okay,
this.
I might add one more thing
Okay.
to this. When I worked at the shelter, the hardest day was when an old cat, an old dog, was brought into the shelter by the kids because they didn't want, mom and dad had passed away or whatever, and they didn't want to take care of that animal, and it was dumped into the shelter. Old, sometimes a little ill, you know it's not gonna get adopted. And we've had, in one case, a husband, his wife passed away, and immediately get those horses out of here, they're gone. So don't necessarily think all the time your spouse is going to do what you might want. Put it all in writing. Okay.
Black and white makes it real clear, no gray areas, nothing to think about, so. And with that,
I have a question.
Go ahead.
You know,
Yes.
what is the cost of taking care of these horses?
Can we go get my bank statement? They're not cheap. I mean, it's feed, hay, shoeing, vet bills. If sometimes we get horses that belong to people that are older and they have not seen a farrier in a while, or they haven't seen a vet in a while, so we have to get them back up to par with being healthy.
Plus it's boarding.
Yeah.
A lot, you know, they're not gonna be able to stay there, so you add, I mean, we all know where boarding has gone, the price of that. So you're looking at, let's say $500 to $1,000 a month. Would you guys say?
Yeah, it's not cheap. It's not cheap.
A horse.
Yeah, it's, there's a whole lot of factors into that, you know.
And how long do they live?
Well,
30.
my last one was 36,
Yeah.
so, and that was just a couple of months ago, but, you know, and there was a lady that, an older lady that had some health issues, had a really nice house, and she was leaving all of her worldly possessions to Foothills when she died. She had a mortgage, but she left them. Forgot to mention that. And a car payment. So they sold the house and was just able to pay off her mortgage, so, but anyhow. Yep,
You look at me, you look at me.
yep, I'm looking at you. You want me next? You
Yeah,
got a
sure.
question?
Yeah, I got a question.
Okay.
So you mentioned when you had to take care of, when you saw someone who passed away and you went in there and took the animals, and it took you some time to find homes for the animals, right? Who finances that?
Who finances that?
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, in that situation, that specific
In
situation.
those situations, usually our local rescue organization or the Humane Society will finance that.
I mean, I realize the estate can typically pay for that, but
Right.
in this situation,
Right,
is
but
that
when we can't find one,
right?
We'll take over the
usually
cost
we'll
of it.
come in and take over until, we tried to do that because the state wants anything that costs money, a
Gone.
lot of money, out, you know,
Right.
quickly.
I meant the estate, not
Yeah.
the, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
not
now
the
we
state.
did, in one instance, we did have somebody, when they passed away, and we got him, the guy that found, the lady that found her brother, when he sold the property, he paid back everything that
So you
we had
kept-
spent, so
yeah, so
that
you kept
worked out
receipts
well
and
for
they-
us.
they-
Yeah, we
right,
kept
yeah,
receipts for
yeah, yeah.
everything, I mean, cause we had them in our care for months.
Right.
I mean, we
And sometimes
This
it's
isn't quick.
a neighbor who will take them in. We've had a couple of cases where neighbors will
Yeah.
take in the animals and take care of them.
This may be premature, but I think we're gonna be talking about paperwork and, you know, how to get things in order, but what about, the instance where, you know, the owner has died and someone like you guys go into the house? Do you search through, I mean, where do you look for the instructions? I know it'll be in the will of the trust or whatever, but that may not be evident to some.
We try to buy, well, usually when we're in looking through stuff in the house, we'll go try to find something that looks like an office file cabinet, something just where people keep papers, bills or whatever, and just start looking through stuff. And there was me and 3, 4 of the detectives just going through paperwork, you know, just trying to find something that would lead us to what we needed to know. Because usually when you have a will, you've got to file at the courthouse. If you have a will.
You know,
So, we do here, I've got mine filed at the courthouse.
I don't, you gotta hunt it up.
now,
Gotta hunt it, gotta go find it.
Gotta hunt it up.
they often say, so a holographic will is what you were talking about when you write it with your hand, right? And it used to be in North Carolina that it had to be found in a safe place.
Okay, gotcha.
They just changed that statute in North Carolina, but typically, that's what you're looking is in a safe place. You're looking in places with, like you were saying,
Right.
where you see papers and things like that.
But this, one of these ladies had put, they had found my phone number in her pocketbook or her wallet or something when she went to the hospital, and they called me and said, "Are you gonna claim the body?" I said, "Nope, not mine." Don't know why my phone number's in there, but, you know, it's just, you just have to plan ahead, but, any more questions for me?
So, what would you like for community residents to do? Do you want an email to you saying, in case I pass, this is where the
No,
information is?
No, not to me.
He's gonna tell you exactly.
He's gonna
what
tell you
need
that,
to do.
and I am gonna turn this over to you for a while.
Yeah. Okay, I'm here to introduce Carter,
Great.
and hang on one second, I got some information. Can you bring those brochures in and hand them around? Kathy's gonna, pass out some information to you guys.
Yeah.
I know some of you guys, but a lot of you I don't know. My name is Gina Meredith. I am a financial advisor and the owner of Blue Ridge Wealth Management. And we are located downtown Landrum, directly across from Wells Fargo Bank. So you've probably seen my office. I have a lot of clients that own horses. I own horses. I've been working with Carter Webb for years. Carter's firm also has an office in my building in Landrum, so he's local. If any of you guys want to talk to him, he's right here and he can meet with you. Carter's firm is in Asheville, North Carolina, and Carter lives in Asheville, North Carolina. But one really neat thing about Carter is he's a member of the bar in North Carolina and South Carolina. So, do we have any South Carolina residents in here? Okay, yeah, we have a bunch, and everybody else is North Carolina, I'm assuming? So about half and half, Carter. There aren't a lot of attorneys that can work in both states, so that's really, really nice to have Carter as a resource. So, Kathy is handing out a sheet to you guys that has Blue Ridge Wealth Management at the top. And this is just a checklist for you guys to fill out. If you want more information, we don't want to be here all night. I'm sure you guys don't want to be here all night. So we're gonna, talk about a lot of things. Carter's gonna talk about the legal aspects and the documents that you need and how you need to set things up legally. And then I'm gonna talk about financial issues, how to provide money. That's why I asked Patty the question, like, where is this money gonna come from? So I'll talk about that. If you guys would, fill out your names and your address and your email and your phone number, and that way we can contact you if you do want more information. And as we go through this information, you can just check off what you would like more information about. If you think of something that we did not talk about, you can write it in at the bottom, and one of us will get in touch with you and help you with whatever you need. So if you would just hang on to that, and then you can hand those in when we finish. So Carter lives in Asheville with his wife, Lee, and 2 kids. Carter graduated from Presbyterian College. So did Ivy. And he has his law degree from the University of South Carolina. So if you guys would help me welcome Carter Webb.
handouts with the slides on them if anybody wants them, so you can take notes, you know, or not, or throw it away.
We don't
or-
have enough for everybody, so if you don't.
So, thanks for having me here. Exciting topic, estate planning. So, we were talking about having an estate plan, which would be a will, those type of things. What do you think the percentage is of people, of Americans, that don't have a will? A lot. What? 75. So it's over 60. Oh, sorry. Over 60% don't have a will. So whenever somebody comes to me, they say, I don't have a will, I always say, well, you're in good company. Because there's a lot of you that don't. So we're going to try to go through this and try to make this as interesting as possible. So if y'all have questions, just feel free to ask. Let me see if I do this right. Go back real quick. Okay. So when I talk about this, we talk about what is an estate plan. It's kind of a roadmap for all the documents. When I talk about an estate plan, then I'm talking about like a will, potentially a trust, a power of attorney, both financial and healthcare, and a living will, which is an advance directive. So those situations where you don't want to be hooked up to a life support system. And I promise I'll tie this all in with horses and pets and animals and everything. But if we kind of get the basics of all the documents, it'll all make sense. Okay? So, I think the misnomer is that only wealthy people need a estate plan. So basically, everybody needs an estate plan. So if you don't have an estate plan, you don't control what happens at your death. And we talked about horses and animals. If you have an estate plan, you put it in the will about who you want to receive it and who you want to be in charge of making sure the animal is taken care of. And it can provide preserve the assets and property for your beneficiaries. And it gives all sorts of other reasons of why you should have an estate plan. Minor disabled beneficiaries, pets, all those types of things. So the basic roadmap.
Excuse me, there's a point in there that said something like the federal tax of 12 million, what's this? The third.
So there's all,
Network.
yeah.
Network.
Mhm. So there's a estate tax. You heard death taxes? Yeah. So if you have a certain size estate, then they levy taxes on that estate. And back in 2000, it used to be as low as $1 million. So if you had $1 million in assets, they would tax it at about 50%. Ever since the Trump tax cuts in 2017, it's been $10 million indexed for inflation. Which means unless you have $12.06 million, and you double that for married couples, $24 million. Anybody have that? Then you're not subject to the estate tax. So that's what that is. And I can go as in depth as you want me to. That was a big number, right?
What's the, security of that number?
Take it.
What's the security of that number in the political climate we're in now?
So if they don't,
How quickly can that drop down to 1 or 2 million again?
if they don't do anything by the end of 2025, then it goes back down to 5 million.
Okay.
Index for inflation. So in 2026, if nothing happens, if Congress doesn't do anything, then it goes back to what it was in 2012, which is 5 million index for inflation, which means it's probably going to be between 6.5 and 7 million. I have like 5 slides on that I was actually going to just fly through, but I'm happy to go in great detail. Everybody loves to talk about taxes. No, they don't. I'm just kidding. That was a joke. That was a joke.